Shoop, shoo up, shoop, shoo up. The con is back. Shoo up. The con is back. Shoo up. The con is back.
Yeah, that's right now.
Shoo up. The con is back.
Yeah, that's right. The gun is back now, baby.
The con is back.
Yeah, the gun is here.
The con is back.
That's right. The gun is back now.
The con is back.
All right. Hey, everybody. Graham here. Rocking out the microphone alone again. Still no Ashkahn.
Wait a minute. Wait a
Oh,
minute.
wait, what's that over there? Trouble over there on
That's
mic
right.
2. That's what I call your mic when you're not here, by the way. Mic number 2.
Yeah, over here on mic 2, this is Ashkahn. I'm back.
Oh!
That's right.
Good to have you, buddy.
I missed you guys.
It's been too long.
Yeah, it has been too long. I was a little busy.
I had to
but
put up with Jake and Derek.
I know. This sounds rough.
Some really sad episodes where I was alone there. Scared.
Oh, it's okay.
Scared.
We're all back now. We're back together.
It's good. It's like a warm embrace.
Yeah. Can you guys feel it out there?
I bet they can.
I bet they can too.
All right. Well, we have another question to answer
All right.
that you sent us.
Back in it.
So this is your fault. The question is, what do you do when you're giving someone an intro and they keep interrupting you?
Hold on a sec.
When they're going all over the place and coming in looking for an excuse not to enjoy their float. It doesn't happen too much, but still trying to figure out the best way to keep them focused on what I have to say to make sure they have a great experience and keep them coming back.
Yeah. I mean, this definitely I know exactly what this person is talking about.
Well, so it's interesting because I was like totally with them, and then they said it's like the people looking for an excuse
Right.
not to enjoy their float as well. Because like there are interrupters who I think are like
Yeah.
excited interrupters.
Then but there is, I think it's a small subset of the interrupters that are this type of person that I was talking. Because I get that too. And usually the people who are coming in kind of like, grumpy or being dragged in by somebody else, they'll tend to be interrupters as well. So there's definitely a good, healthy overlap in the Venn diagram there.
The interruption diagram.
Yeah.
Anyway, as I was saying.
Let's tackle the second part second. Let's just talk about interrupters in general for a moment.
Yeah.
Please go
Well,
ahead.
go. No, you go
ahead.
first.
Me too, honestly,
me too.
I kind of like them. That you get so used to saying the intro speech over and over again, and then someone rolls in and they're like, it's usually people who are like high energy and they're looking around. And
Hey,
their
what's that
mind's
thing over
already-
there?
Yeah, they're like, what? How do I do this thing? And to me, it's kind of like I get to stretch my intro muscles. And I'm like, oh, you wanted me to jumble up my spiel here, huh? You wanna toss up my order of things and for me to just roll with it? And I kind of get excited about it. And I'm like, let's do it. Let's dance, buddy. And so they start going over things. So my advice and what I like to do is just give in, ride the interruption train and you be on their schedule. And that's what I do. I'm just I answer that question, then they have another question, I answer that, and I'm just keeping track in my head of what I have gone over and what I haven't gone over yet. And I tend to pick up the pace a little bit about what I'm saying, and I'm a little more terse. I kind of try to match the energy that they're bringing in. I'm like, boom, light button right here. Snap that bad boy, you turn it off. Over here, you got the earplugs. I've always found that to be successful. I feel like I have a good interaction with them at that point, and I feel like they got the information they needed to get. And I said all of my intro speech. I just didn't say it in the order that I'm used to saying it, or quite at the same flow. But we did it.
I will say, I find with those people, you really have to emphasize the important stuff.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I don't mean emphasize just you were emphasizing every single sentence that you just said. It's you need to pause for a second and be like, hold on.
Yeah.
I know you're excited about this thing, but you need to actually absorb what I'm saying. Because they're keyed in on their next question.
Yeah.
Wait, what's that thing over there? And
They're
you
very
answer.
distracted.
And you're like, okay, and also you really need to be careful because it's slippery. And they're like, yeah, I got it. But what's this thing? And you're like, no,
Tasting the
seriously,
salt
dude.
water.
Listen to my words. Don't slip and kill yourself. They're like, oh yeah, sorry, I wasn't listening at all. But seriously, what's that thing in the corner? Yeah. So the excited interrupters. There's the just general curious interrupters, and those ones I find I have to cut short sometimes and just tell
Things
wait
get
until
lengthy.
afterwards. Because they'll be like, well, what can I expect in there?
Right,
like,
right, sure.
Tell me about some other people's experiences when you're just trying to tell them where earplugs are. You know, and you're like, dude, let's talk about other people's experiences after your float and get you in the tank, you know. It's like the overly curious, I'd almost say like float procrastinator for a lot of first timers. You know,
Yeah,
it's like they're asking enough questions because they're a little nervous about going in, and they're like, well, tell me a float time story. You know, like tell me about someone else who had a good experience in the tank, and then maybe I'll feel a little more comfortable. You know.
Yeah, and it's true. It's a very different response to those people. Like I get much more lengthy in what I'm saying rather than going that kind of terse direction. But I don't know. I mean, it just the general lesson I found with intro speeches is to try to do this for any scenario that pops up. I mean, that's what I always would do is like, you know, I try to like, to me, it's a conversation despite the fact that you're the one saying pretty much everything. And so like to kind of be wise about it, you got to listen to like what the other person's doing or thinking, or it's not even when they interrupt. Like I can tell when I'm giving an intro speech to someone when I've lost them, like when they're just not paying attention anymore. I get that kind of like glaze over the eyes, and you're like you got to be able to respond to those situations too, and know how to like change gears or turn or do something to like draw their attention back in, like that. It's really for any type of person coming in.
And it's why we like intro speeches as opposed to doing a video. Or I think like even if we did have a video that we had people watch, we'd still have this nice in-person section where we go over the most important stuff. Just because, you can like if all you're having someone do is watch a video, you don't know who that interrupter is. Who like in their mind they're just interrupting the video, asking all these questions and not absorbing, you know, more than a single sentence of what gets said. And when you're face to face, I mean, it's still maybe you're not going to catch everyone who spaces out in any given moment, but you get a lot of it. You know, it really is, especially after you do this hundreds of times, like your mouth is on autopilot. So like you don't really have to pay attention to the words coming out. You just get to watch the person's reaction and see whether or not they're actually absorbing that or they're off in their own little land, you know?
Sometimes for the spacers, I would just add more superfluous information in there to see how far I could go. Like I would be like, and then after that, just like go ahead and grab a broom from behind the door and mop this whole place up. Then I'm gonna need you to take the trash can here, go around back. We got a dumpster in the back area. The code is 3946. And like I'd go far enough until eventually they were like, wait, what? And I was like, no, I was just kidding for all that last part. And then you got them back, you know, like, so you mess with people is my advice.
They also don't trust anything you say after that, but that's appropriate.
That's good.
They shouldn't really believe you anyway. Okay. But so there is, I would say, almost another category of interrupter too, which is the second part of the question.
It's almost more like the skeptic. Like the angry skeptic.
Yeah, like the know-it-all, or like that doesn't believe in this and is gonna prove you wrong before they even get in the tank kind of interrupter.
And to like even listen to your intro speech as an acknowledgement that this whole floating thing is legitimate. And
sure, put in the earplugs if that's what you call them. It's like earplugs are real. You don't have to be skeptical about earplugs. So how do we deal? I mean, the nice thing is like they or someone they loved signed them up to be alone in this room for an hour and a half or an hour or whatever it is. So, you know, you make sure that they're actually listening, especially to the safety information and stuff that might make their float a little better.
I pretty much like
kind of like leave them to it.
Yeah, I mean that's what I do. Like the nice thing is the float tank is going to take care of their like grumpy skepticalness. Like you don't even have to deal with that. They're just going to float and they're going to come out and realize that they were a fool. So like that part is great. So like I basically just I cut down my intro speech to the essentials, and I feel like they start to appreciate that. Like I cut out the floweriness or any part of elaboration, and I keep it much more just like pragmatic. Like here's this is a light button, and I try to like simplify my language, and that way it's like it doesn't feel like either of us is sitting there kind of like there's something to be grumpy about when someone's just telling you like here's how you turn a light off. And so I kind of that's the direction I go, and that also shortens it, and it kind of gets the process done, and then they go float, and then they come out, and like honestly those people have some of the greatest floats. Like that's my favorite part. I love talking to those people afterwards because it's like they're different people.
Yeah, for sure. I have had one person got out of the tank and said he's like, oh, there was some time dilation in there. Like I was counting seconds and it felt much more like 80 minutes to me, you know? And you're like, wait, what? You were just counting seconds for every second you were in the float tank? And he's like, yeah. And it's like, man, you were just fighting that experience, huh? Like you really didn't want to like give into that or something. It's interesting. So yeah, there are those people who almost do seem determined to like not have a profound float or keep their conscious connection to that reality or something. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with them, but they also have been some really pleasant people. It's not like they're always militantly against what you're doing, you know?
And then others you just get. My favorite one was I had like exactly this person that is being described in this question.
Yeah.
It was like a grumpy old man who was brought in by his wife, and his wife was like super excited about it, and he was just like not having any of it. And he was doing exactly this, just interrupting my intro speech like as many times as he could, because he was like clearly not into all this like new agey nonsense, right? And then he showered and got out maybe like 4 or 5 minutes before his wife did at the end. And this guy was like my best friend all of a sudden. We were hanging out. He was chatting. He was telling me about what he used to do. He used to be an engineer. He's building a boat. He was going to build a boat that had a hot tub in it. And he was like seriously considering making it a float tank instead of a hot tub now. Like he was offering to help us. Like, hey, if you need to get into manufacturing, like, let me know. I'll talk to these people. I'm like, who are you? Like, you were so mean to me like an hour and a half ago.
Yeah, it is really nice that we're in the line of work that we are. Like that we're actually not selling snake oil, and these tanks are pretty amazing things.
Yeah.
Because it's true. I mean, and I guess in the end, that's my advice is the same as Ashkahn's, which is like, just get them in the tank and let the tank do the work. And some percentage of them will not have a good float, and to them, they're in their minds, their skepticism is now justified. You know, and there's nothing you could have done to prevent that anyway, really. And then sometimes they'll get in, and I'd say even the majority of the time get in, and even because they are so skeptical, end up having a way better float than their expectations. You know, it's one of those things where, if you go in with no expectations, it's pretty easy to beat them, and the float tank is pretty good at that. So
I mean, I think in whatever intro speech, I generally just try to like mirror the person who's coming in and kind of match what they're bringing into the room and kind of get that. I don't know. I guess the alternative would be really like trying to be soothing and calming for every single person to lead them into the kind of float experience, but it just doesn't feel natural to me. It's never felt like if someone's coming in all fiery with a lot of questions, I've never felt normal just being like, and then you just walk yourself into the float. Like I feel like that's just going to be frustrating for that person, and so I don't know. That's how I've always approached it.
Yeah. And that's it's very in line with our like float on philosophy too. Like there is actually, if you didn't know this, there is actually a spa voice that spas will train their employees to have, and it is that kind of like more soothing type of voice, and they just want their employees to talk like this to their customers, and it's like that's so far from how we want to run float on that. Yeah, I mean, matching what people are bringing in, I think, is a great thing. Unless they get stabby, there's no need to get stabby.
There's no need to get
you know?
stabby back. Yeah, that's probably nice of you to say.
All right, you want to sign us off?
Yeah, check this
while,
out.
Huh?
Let me dust off the old little outro here. If you guys out there have any more questions...
And if you have any more questions about interrupting, go ahead and send your interrupting questions over to...
You can go over to floatanksolutions.com/podcast, put in a question, we will answer it, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.